Before we look at how protons, neutrons and electrons were discovered, let's have a look at what they are and how they're arranged inside atoms. I should warn you though, that when it comes to atomic structure, you really need to know about 10 or so different things before any of it really makes sense, but you can only learn one thing at a time. Once you do learn the basics though, everything else is just examples and finer details. So let's begin. We now know that all atoms are made of what's called a nucleus, made up of two types of particles called protons and neutrons, which is surrounded by much smaller particles called electrons that move around the nucleus at enormous speeds. Protons and neutrons are often collectively called nucleons, since they make up the nucleus. The plural of the word nucleus is either nucleuses or nuclei. Even though there are more than 100 elements, the atoms of every single one of them are made up of just three types of particles, which are often called subatomic particles. Different atoms have different numbers of these three subatomic particles. This atom has 2 protons and 2 neutrons in its nucleus, and it has 2 electrons moving around the nucleus. It is in fact a helium atom, or rather a representation of a helium atom. We can't actually see any of these particles, and in this animation they're not drawn to scale. The protons have a positive electrical charge, and the electrons have a negative electrical charge. The neutrons are neutral. But what is electrical charge? Well, it's a little like magnetism. Magnets have a north pole and a south pole. 2 north poles repel one another, 2 south poles repel one another, while a north pole and a south pole attract one another. Some magnets can be very strong and provide a large force, while others are fairly weak. Electrical charge is similar, but is described as being either positive or negative. The positively charged protons attract the negatively charged electrons and stop them from flying away. In that sense, it's a little like the gravitational force of attraction between the Sun and the Earth.